Hey guys, welcome back. So, if you're unfamiliar with this location that I'm in, it's actually a corner in my office right by the door. That's what that mirror is there. And it's dark outside. So, I can't film my intro and outro out in the bushes like I normally do. So, today we have to make a painting for one of my upcoming painting classes. Private class was booked by one of my good friends. And that class is on Sunday and it's Friday. So I should probably make the sample. Now, we already kind of know what we're going to do because he sent me an example of one that he liked that he found online. So I'm going to, make it my own a little bit, but pretty close to what the original looked like. And we're just going to hop right into it. So I hope you guys enjoy the video. If you do, don't forget to hit like and subscribe. All the YouTube stuff really makes a difference for the channel. Let's get into it. Hey guys, welcome back. So today we are making a painting for a class I have coming up. So here's me showing you what the painting looks like. We're going to make this kind of very quiet winter scene with a nice big moon, and we're just going to jump right into it. So the first thing you see here is me putting what looks like a tic-tac-toe game on my board. This is just, I want to show you kind of this concept called the rule of thirds. Whenever you're making a painting or taking a photo or doing anything with artistic integrity, it's a good rule of thumb for artists especially, that you follow the rule of thirds, or in other words, divide your canvas into thirds. It doesn't have to be physically done, it can be imagined. You don't always have to put tic-tac-toe on everything you're doing, but if you put your focal point on one of those thirds, it's usually a good spot to pull the focus to a painting. Right in the center can look good, but usually in kind of one of those third margins, it's a good spot to put it. Also, it's good for your horizon line to be on one of those thirds as well, just so that it's not perfectly dividing your painting into this in the center. Like I said, it can look good centering things, like any Wes Anderson movie that's ever been made. They're all super highly centered and symmetrical, so it could look good if done properly. But in most cases, not all of us are Wes Anderson, obviously. So it helps to make this little guide in your mind so you can kind of put your focal point on one of those thirds. While I've been talking and I started on my background here, you see it's pretty blue. I'm avoiding this big circle so that I have some space to put my moon without blending my colors together too bad. And I'm going to kind of go a little lighter towards the bottom. Now, when I started this painting, I only used 3 colors: an ultramarine blue, white, and black, but I did need one more color. I think it's called sky blue, but it's a little more of a teal-ish kind of color. When I am done with my background color for the sky, I'm going to go ahead and put the moon in, and I'm going to do what I'll refer to as a dirty white. So it's mostly white on my brush, but I don't mind if there's also some blue or some black or any other color in my white as well. I'm going to use that so that it's not just pure white. It kind of gives me some texture that I'm not necessarily in 100% control of. I try to make it as easy on myself as possible with things like that, where I don't have to actively go in and put my colors where I think they should be. I can just take some white that's a little tainted on my brush and let the colors randomly choose to go wherever they'd like to. So I always paint from back to front when I'm making a painting. If you watch my videos, you may have heard me say that before. And so now the next phase as we come forward is going to be our mountains. And so basically for these mountains, I'm just going to take some black and I'm going to cut across my canvas at my horizon line. And so it's not the end of the world if you don't exactly copy the shape of my mountains, if you're trying to follow along, right? Mountains are unique, they're individual. The only thing that I would say is really important here is that we don't have anything going really heavily vertical. I want these mountains to seem like they're pretty far away. And so as long as I keep them pretty flat you know, as opposed to like straight up and down crazy spiky mountains. I think that they'll push far enough back that they'll give me a good backdrop for my foreground. So now that my mountains are in, I'm going to go ahead and do my snowy foreground. And as you can see, I'm using my dirty white technique again. I am using much more white now than any other color. However, I don't mind if there's a little bit of blue or a little bit of black or a little bit of my tealish color in the paint. That's just going to provide me with some added detail to my ground that when somebody looks at this later, they're going to be like, oh, that's neat that he did that there. Well, little did they know, I had no control over that. You know, it was on my brush and I put it down and that's what happened. Once again, for this, because I want the ground to seem like it's the ground, I'm going to go ahead and only use horizontal strokes for this portion. So in the sample painting that I'm working off of to make this class, there is like what I presume is a stream, I think, because it widens out into what looks to be a little lake. So you can see me adding that in here. Basically, I just took some of my blue and I'm doing little horizontal strokes to kind of give me the effect of the stream coming from the foreground and pushing out. When I initially put this in, it's a little too straight and I will kind of make it a little more crooked in the end. But I wasn't sure right away if it was supposed to be a path or if it was supposed to be a stream. So I kind of started as a path, but then as I went along, I thought a stream made more sense. So I'll do some more work to this later, but I want to kind of pull the whole painting to a good finish point at the same time instead of really highly detailing one part and then doing it later, doing the next part later. So I'm going to go ahead and do my black trees now. And so I'm finding a very thin brush. I think I ended up using a thin flat brush. You could use a small round brush as well. I don't like to use those kinds of brushes for a canvas this big. It takes too long. I got to refill the paint too often and I'm lazy. So I try to use the biggest brush I can get away with comfortably for any job that I'm doing. And so for this case, it's kind of a smaller flat brush. I'm just kind of randomly branching things out. You know, I'm not really thinking too hard about it. I know intuitively what a tree looks like. And so once I kind of get a couple branches going, you can kind of just sit there and look at it and be like, what looks weird about it? And kind of add little branches until it doesn't look weird anymore. I wish I knew how much I miss not knowing. So I don't want these trees to just be black. I'm going to come in here. The black is still kind of wet, so it's going to blend a little with my white, but that's okay. I'm going to add some highlights here. And not only am I going to highlight on the trunks, but some of these branches that come up into the really dark sky at the top, you can't tell they're there because they're black and the sky's almost black. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use very thin white lines to kind of indicate these top branches catching some light so that we can actually see them in front of the background. I wish I knew. Now, when I teach this class, this will not be the order that I do this in, but I realized at this point that the sky was kind of missing something and it needed some stars. And so that's what I'm going to do. When I teach the class, we're going to do the stars 30, 40 minutes ago. So this is not the order that I'll do it in when I teach a class, but I needed some stars in the sky. And so I just took a little small round brush and I added some little star details. Once again, I should have done this way sooner, right? I'm working back to front and I'm almost done with everything in the foreground. So obviously I should have done this sooner. Now, trees don't just float out of nowhere. And often when snow falls, it'll pile up around the base of the tree. And so that's kind of what I did here. I added some little snow piles at the base of the tree just so that I could ground them. And it looked like they're actually sitting on something as opposed to just floating on top of my painting. And so at this point, I'm just going to do a little few touch-ups, things that I think look a little funky, things that I think I should add a little more love to. I'm going to darken up some of this stream, change the shape of it, and on the edges of it, I'm going to add it a little darker so that it seems like it comes down off of a snowdrift into the stream itself. But you'll see as I go that that's kind of what's going on. We're just going to zoom through this and we can cut right to the outro after this. All right, so we're all finished with that painting. I'm going to try to back up. I'm in like a little rolly chair, so hopefully I don't bust my ass trying to do this. I'm going to follow my rule of thirds, put myself right in the third line here so that we can get enough space for this painting. So here is the finished piece. I realized that I didn't really talk about these footprints in this painting. I don't, they're just little marks, you know. It's not like the most difficult thing in the world. You can see they're not really anything special. They're just little marks that kind of go up along the edge of the water. But I would say that this is a pretty successful painting. You know, it gets across the kind of idea that I'm trying to get across. I think it fits the tone of what our class is going to be like. And it was easy, most importantly. Whenever I'm doing one of these classes, the most important thing is that it's fairly simple. Like, I don't want it to be too hard for people to follow along, because then it's not fun, you know? And the point is for this class to be fun and for people to make something that they're proud of at the end of it. And so there we go. That's what our class is going to be. I hope you guys enjoy. If you're interested in a class in the future, you can always book that through my website, or you can reach out to me through any of my social media profiles, and I'll be happy to help you book a painting class of your own. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you did like, if you subscribe, that'd be great too. Leave a comment. Tell me if this was something that you would want to make, because maybe I'll make it a public class too later if I get enough people interested in attending one that are local. Yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.